My name is Becky Baker and I'm a teaching artist with Artists Creating Together, joining you for another Stay Home, Stay Creative art lesson. Today we are going to be making shadow art, and this is an example of a few different ways that we'll be able to do this. And first I'm going to go over the supplies that you'll need for this activity. You're going to need some kind of light source to create the shadows. So if it's a nice day, sunny day, and you can set up outside, that would be great. Or if you've got a sunny spot by the window where you got some bright sunlight shining in on your workspace, you could also set up a light indoors with a bright lamp or a flashlight, or maybe even a flashlight on your phone. But some kind of bright light that will be able to set up next to your workspace to create some shadows on your paper. We'll also need some heavy paper for painting on. If you've got some watercolor paper or some other thicker paper would work best for paint. We will need a paintbrush, whatever size you have available. You'll need a pencil, and you'll need a container with some water and some paper towels for dabbing your brush. You'll also need a little container for putting some paint in, or I'll show you how we can use food coloring. So if you've got food coloring, you can grab that, or if you've got some watercolor paints or some other paints at home, you can use those too. And then some other optional materials would be some drawing materials like oil pastels or markers or color pencils. You can kind of experiment with a variety of materials for this project. And then finally, we'll need something to create some shadows. So I've grabbed a house plant that I have. You could also pick some things from outside, some branches or different leaves or flowers. That would also work for this activity. And I think those are all the supplies we'll need. We're ready to get started. So here I've got my workspace set up with my light source off to one side, and I've got my blank sheet of paper. And to begin, we're just going to start with our pencil, and you're going to grab your plant or your object or branches or flowers that you're going to use to create your cast shadows. So here's my plant, and I'm going to set it right between the light and the paper, so you can see it's creating some really cool shadows on top of my paper. So I'm just going to place it where I like it and maybe kind of adjust it a little bit until I get the shadows on my paper that I like and in the right place, or you could move your paper around a little bit too to adjust the placement of those shadows. And then I'm just going to take my pencil and go ahead and start tracing around those lines that I see on my paper. And you just want to be careful not to cover up the shadows with your hand like this. So you're going to keep your hand over on this side so it doesn't get in the way of those shadow lines. So I'm just going to trace around all of those shapes, and even those little spaces in between the leaves. So I'm going to trace this whole design, and then I will take my paper off and see what it looks like. So here you can see what the finished tracing looks like, and now we're ready to fill in those spaces with some color. So there's a few options, like I mentioned at the beginning. You could use watercolor. So here I did a two-tone painting for my design. I also experimented with some oil pastels. Here I experimented with drawing with a pencil, or you could use a pen, and sort of turned my design into interesting looking abstract 3D shape. And then this last section I experimented with painting with some food coloring, which I will show you. Painting with food coloring is very similar to painting with watercolor. You're going to take a container and squeeze just a few drops of the color of your choice into your container. And then you are going to wet it down or water it down with some water from your water container. So you're going to dip your brush in the water and kind of wet or water down that food coloring. Then you're going to go ahead and start painting in your design. And depending on how much water you add to the food coloring in your container, will determine how dark your color will be on your paper. So you might need to go back and get a little more water on your brush to spread the color across your paper a little bit easier if it starts to look a little dry. And we'll just fill in all of that space or those spaces with this blue color. Once you've got that space painted in, then you could go ahead and add a background color in the space around it, or you can leave it white, or you can try another drawing with one of the other materials that we talked about. And I really enjoyed this project because it helped me to come up with some new designs that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. I hope you enjoy creating your own shadow art.